Welcome to episode 7 of the Big Story podcast, CarbonCopy's attempt to slow down the news cycle and spend time with the stories that shape our climate future. From boardrooms and policy tables to villages at the edge of the sea, climate change is often discussed in numbers, degrees, kilometers, and crores. But what happens when the consequences don't fit into spreadsheets or relief packages? I'm Riddhi, the digital associate at CarbonCopy, and today's episode asks a simple but uncomfortable question. What do we lose when rising seas change the places we call home? This episode is based on Shashwata Chaudhary's latest big story titled Beyond Compensation: What Coastal Communities Lose to a Rising Sea. Let's explore a story where the costs of climate change extend far beyond what compensation can cover. Extreme weather events like landslides, floods in the mountains, erosion of the beaches, and wildfires in forests lead to the loss of local geographical areas and ecology, to which the inhabiting communities are attached. Now, how does one quantify such losses? Where communities are deprived of intangible assets like forests, sacred groves, beaches, burial places, playgrounds, or places of worship due to climate change. These losses cannot be priced. According to the United Nations Framework Convention on Climate Change, a global climate treaty, such non-economic loss and damage is defined as a broad range of losses that are not easily quantifiable in financial terms or commonly traded in markets. These losses happen along with losses of property, assets, infrastructure, or agricultural production and revenue that can result from climate change. They lead to alteration of lives and livelihoods, even driving migration, loss of education, and degrading mental health. CarbonCopy visited a coastal village in Orissa called Tandahar, whose inhabitants had to rebuild the entire village after a cyclone swallowed the older one 2 decades back. Let us hear from the locals about what had unfolded.
हाँ जी, मेरा नाम अभिजीत है। मैं यहाँ पूरी डिस्ट्रिक्ट का उदयकनी ग्राम से बोल रहा हूँ। यह हमारा जो क्लाइमेट का इश्यूज है, क्योंकि हम लोग 1999 में हमारा यहाँ एक साइक्लोन हुआ था, तो उसके वजह से हम लोग वहाँ से लोग का पूरा घर वगैरह सब कुछ चला गया। वहाँ से मंदिर वगैरह, खेलने का जगह भी सब कुछ वहाँ से जा चुका है। एक बार देख लीजिए। ठीक है ना। सो जो वहाँ से जो सब गए था ना, तो हम लोग वहाँ शिफ्ट हो चुके हैं, क्योंकि वहाँ कुछ रहने का जगह ही नहीं है। फिर हम लोग वहाँ जाके जैसे कुड़िया वगैरह होता ना, वहाँ सब ये सब बना के वहाँ हम लोग अभी रह रहे। वो भी हो गया अभी 25-26 साल से वहाँ हम लोग रह रहे। हम लोग का उधर मतलब करने के लिए कुछ है ही नहीं। उसकी वजह से जो हमारा यंगस्टर्स है वो लोग सब यहाँ देख लीजिए एक बार। हर कोई घर से 3-4 लोग जो भी है वो लोग जाके बाहर जैसे काम वगैरह करके तो बस वैसे ही हमारे ये सब।
का नाम विचित्रानंद कालिया है और गांव में तंडार है। और यहाँ पर जो घर था 99 का साइकिल हुआ ना, वो तोड़ दिया। तो पिछली बार शिफ्ट हुआ यहाँ से, और 5 किलोमीटर दूर से गांव चल गया। और साइकिल आता है ना, मैं साइकिल शेल्टर को चल गया। वो मैं गांव में खेत में वो आंटी पानी हुआ, तो खेत में सब फसल टूट गया। समुद्र पहले 5-7 किलोमीटर दूर था, तो 99 पर 5 किलोमीटर पाक हुआ। वो 99 जो हुआ ना, वो 1 किलोमीटर दूर था समुद्र ना। मैं पहले जो गांव था वो 99 के सब टूट गया। वो तो 99 पर 2001 से 500 मीटर दूर शिफ्ट हुआ गांव।
In India, there is no way to address or even measure non-economic loss and damage presently. Any redressal mechanism falls under disaster management, which provides funds or compensation for immediate relief after a major climate disaster. Globally, the Fund for Responding to Loss and Damage incorporates non-economic losses, but does not set aside a separate fund or percentage for it. Essentially, it exists on paper, but no concrete steps have been taken to address it. It seems that communities have to fend for themselves, while the effects of climate change keep compounding every year. One possible way forward may be to broaden resettlement packages beyond housing alone, by including support for rebuilding social and cultural spaces such as places of worship, community centers, and other shared institutions. There are solutions, we just need to look for them. What you've just heard is part of a growing conversation around climate impacts that are rarely accounted for losses that don't show up in damage assessments, but are deeply felt in everyday life. As climate risks intensify, these questions will only become harder to ignore. To read the full story behind this episode, visit carboncopy.info. Climate change isn't only what we can rebuild, but also what cannot be replaced. Thank you for listening. We'll be back soon with another podcast and another big story.